Hey everyone, hope you're doing well. Just wanted to make this supply podcast for you to help you prepare for your quiz on Monday. We're going over the same things that we went over in class, so the determinants of supply, a shift in supply, what that looks like on the graph, also what a shift in quantity supplied looks like on the graph. So hopefully this will help you get prepared and help you do the best that you possibly can on your quiz. So here you have your supply curve, pretty typical what it should look like. Do make sure that you're labeling everything on your quiz, that you're labeling both axes, your y with price and your x with quantity, and that you're also labeling your supply line. That's very important. This graph is quantitative because you can see that it has numbers on both of the axes. And I do also want to point out that this demonstrates the law of supply, stating that as your price increases, as you can see here, it's going up, so does your quantity supplied. It will also increase, hence the positive slope of the supply line. Do make sure that you remember that for your quiz so that you're not drawing it in the wrong direction. So here you have your qualitative supply line, and hopefully you recognize straight off that there was something pretty wrong with this. The axes are actually mislabeled, so I'm going to go ahead and fix that. It should be price on the y-axis and quantity on the x-axis. You also need to make sure you're labeling your supply line. So on this one, I just wanted to remind everyone about how to show a shift in quantity supplied. That's going to be a movement along the curve. If you're increasing in quantity supplied, you're going to be moving up and to the right from point A to point B. If you're decreasing, you're going to be moving in the opposite direction down to the left from point B to point C. So here's point B to point C. Hopefully that makes sense. Make sure that you're able to distinguish between a shift in quantity supplied and a shift in supply itself. So on this, I just wanted to remind everyone of how to show a shift in supply as a whole, and the only thing that will shift the entire supply curve will be one of your 6 determinants that we'll get to a little bit later. So if you have an increase in supply, your line is going to move to the right, and you will need to show it like so, including the arrow and labeling your new line S1. However, if you have a decrease, it's going to be moving to the left, same kind of thing that you saw with demand. And so make sure that you're, again, labeling your line, the new line S1, or in this case I labeled it S2 because I already had an S1. Again, labeling is key, so make sure that you remember to do that. And again, increase to the right, decrease moves to the left. So now we're going to move into the 6 determinants of supply. Your first one that you're going to talk about is cost of inputs. The rule for this one is that as your cost of inputs increases, your supply is going to decrease. This could be seen in the example of milk and ice cream like I gave in class. Milk is something that you need to make ice cream. It's an input that you'll have to make ice cream. So if the cost of milk increases, then your supply of ice cream is going to decrease. And this is pretty logical when you think about it, because obviously if you're having to pay more money to get the materials you need to make your product, it's going to cost you more and you're not going to be able to put that money into the production. So you're going to decrease your supply. The reverse is also true. If your cost of inputs is decreasing, then your supply is going to increase. And so with the milk and ice cream example, if your milk price suddenly goes down, your supply for ice cream is going to increase. Productivity is your next determinant, and the rule with that one is that as your productivity is increasing and is high, your supply is also going to increase and be high. You can see this demonstrated in the example that we talked about in class. Let's say that you own a company and your workers are working very hard, and because of that your productivity is very high, then your supply for your product is going to be increasing. Unfortunately, you could also say that if your workers decide they're not going to work very hard and they're going to be lazy, and that's going to cause your productivity to decrease and your supply also to decrease. And again, an increase in supply is shown on the graph as a move to the right, and a decrease in supply is shown as a move to the left. Just wanted to remind you all again about that. Your next determinant is technology. I do want to clarify that when you think about this, it needs to be more along the lines of technology advancing to help produce a product. Don't think of it as, oh, a new iPad came out, that's an advance in technology. It is, but we need to look at it more from the aspect of production. So a good example could be if a new machine comes out that can mass produce tennis shoes much quicker, then your supply of tennis shoes is going to increase. That would be an example. And so again, the rule is But as technology advances, supply increases. And this would be shown on the graph as a shift to the right. Your next determinant was taxes, subsidies, and government regulation. Remember, your book had these two things separate, but we decided to combine them because it made the most sense. So if your taxes increase, your supply is going to decrease because you're going to be putting more money towards your taxes and less towards your production, so your supply is going to decrease. And remember, a subsidy, which is our next point, is when the government gives you money to aid in your production. So as subsidies increase, supply is going to increase because there's going to be more money to put towards production. And the overall point that your book was trying to make was that as government regulation increases, supply will decrease because government interference just kind of messes up the free hand of the economy and aspects of production. The next determinant is number of sellers. This one is pretty similar to one that you saw on demand. Pretty self-explanatory. As the number of sellers increases, then your supply will also increase. And then the reverse is also true. If the number of sellers decreases, then your supply is going to decrease. Your next determinant is expectations of future prices. Do you want to make sure that you realize this is different from what we saw with demand? It's not going to be situational. It's going to be specifically dealing with future prices. The rule goes that as your future prices are increasing, if you know that they're going to increase in the future, you're going to hold back your supply now. You'll decrease your supply right now because you're going to want to wait and sell all of your product at the point where the prices are highest so you can make the most money. The reverse then is also true. If you expect future prices for your product to decrease, your supply is going to increase now because you know that prices are going to be bad in the future. So you're going to try and sell all of your product now so you can make the most money while the prices are good. Elasticity of supply. Pretty much the same principle that you saw with demand. You'll be using your same formula to find percent change. And that's going to be you're dividing your difference between the two numbers. You're going to divide that by the original number. And you will know that something is elastic based on using that formula to find the percent change in quantity supplied and in price. If your percent change in quantity supplied is greater than your percent change in price, then your product is elastic. Your product is inelastic if your percent change in quantity supplied is less than your percent change in price. And then the item is unit elastic if the two percentages are equal. With unit, if it's within 1%, you could also call that it's unit elastic as well. Just to run through a quick practice problem, let's say you have prices of $1 and $1.50 and quantities of 5 and 10. If you plug that into your problem, you'll have a change of 50 cents divided by a original of $1. That will give you a 50% change in price. So if you do the same thing with quantity, your difference is 5. You'll divide that by your original of 5. That gives you a 100% change. So with that being said, you can look at these two percentages and realize that your product is elastic because your change in quantity supplied, the percent change in quantity supplied, is greater than the percent change in price. Hope this helps. Hope it makes sense. If you have questions, ask, and good luck studying for your quiz.